So you mind sharing just kind of briefly how you got from Wes, Perch Security, Fifth Wall, now UKON, starting Empath? Like, what's that journey? How'd you get there? What's that life like?
Well, you do take one step in front of the next, not always knowing where like the end goal is going to be. And I always find that to be scary, especially if you're an entrepreneur, double especially if you're an entrepreneur, because you don't always have it prescribed. I didn't have it at all, right? And so when I left ConnectWise, I was very limited on some things I could and couldn't do, right? I mean, as you would expect. And so, you know, I just needed to be very careful on like, where do I want to go? And the one thing I knew was I don't want to leave the MSP space. I've spent years and years and years investing in relationships here. The worst thing I could do is just walk out of it, only to come back 3 years or 2 years from then and try to resurrect everything, right? But where have you been? Who are you? And where's the industry even gone, right? Because we're moving quickly. So for me, I'm like, okay, I got to do something. There's got to be some kind of something with all this. And so that's where Fifth Wall really came in, because I got excited about it because I was already in tons of strategic discussions with ConnectWise around, hey, it looks like this cyber insurance thing is going to change the industry. It is coming in full force. Nobody knows what the heck it is. And one thing that scares the channel is when some outsider comes in that seems to have some authority to dictate what we can and can't do. That's a threat you got to get a hold of, right? And I remember ConnectWise wisely hosting advisory panels of like some of their best MSPs to get together and say, what's going on in insurance and what should we do about it? And so that's when, you know, when I found out about Fifth Wall, I'm like, whoa, this is not just a chance that I can jump in and stay in the industry, because Fifth Wall really wanted to be investing in MSPs exclusively, but also a way for me to get to learn and get involved in probably the newest thing hitting the channel. Like, that checks every checkbox there possibly could be. So I remember going into that office the very first time, and you know, like the blue carpet, you know, and like,
that was when it was in Conway. All the cubicles.
Yes, and wood everywhere, like wood walls, and you know, all
paneling.
that. And I'm like, whoa, I've stepped back into the 90s, man. Dude. Am I sure about this? But meeting you, meeting Reed, man, Wilson, meeting John, meeting just the crew, I'm like, wait a second. This might be in an old office, but something new is happening, and that's when I got captured from day one.
Yeah, I remember my first day at Fifth Wall, then Fifth Wall, right? I sat down at the long table, and Reed's like, guys, we got Wes Spencer. And I was like, who? Like, I had come not from the cyberspace at all. So it was so funny. I was like, who?
What does that even mean?
You were like the first channel chief at Fifth Wall. And you were on the ground level engaging MSPs with cyber insurance conversations. What are some things you remember about the ways MSPs engaged? Like, what were they looking for? What were they hungry for?
Obviously, education was the number one, number two, and number three priority, right? Like, because you have to recognize if no one's had control of the conversation of what's actually happening, things are going to slip in naturally. Things like, you know, cyber insurance is just never going to pay the claim no matter what, right? And all of these things that started coming in that I'm hearing, I'm like, wait a second, if we're not going to control this message, the message is going to control itself. And so I think one of the big things was really starting to get grips on, and me learning from like you and Reed in particular about what's happening in the cyber marketplace as a whole, and then how that affects MSPs, was really valuable. And then just hitting the streets with like education and enablement everywhere we go. And if I remember, I think we grew from like 0 to 700 partners like almost in a year.
Part of that was at IT Nation, somehow Fifth Wall got put up on the keynote screen, having no conversations there.
Oh, that's another story for another. Actually, how about we do tell that story? So ConnectWise really wanted to do something, but I don't think they had their ducks in a row all the way.
Of course.
And so, but
you just said it was a new thing that no one knew how to deal with.
And they were relevant. I'm sorry, they desired to be relevant on the main stage.
Of course.
And they want to do something with the number one hot topic. So just pop Fifth Wall up there, because we had offered, we'll work with y'all in any way you want. So yeah, it did. That was quite fortuitous.
It was awesome. I mean, it swarmed our booth. We got like 200 signups day one.
Yeah, and then man, I hit the speaking circuit, and I spoke at an AWS partner conference, all the way down to like small MSP run conferences on cyber insurance. Oh, and so did you, and so did Reed, over and over and over and over, to build the messaging, to help MSPs understand what's going on in this journey, to help them understand, look, we don't all have this figured out. We're in the beginning throes of this whole thing, but understanding what MSPs need to be doing today to be ready for it.
And to recognize that, we recognized this pretty early on, the massive communication problem between carriers, agents, and MSPs, right? A carrier didn't know what the heck they were talking about at the time. agents were being told to convey things that they didn't know about, and MSPs were getting presented with black and white questionnaires that didn't make sense to be black and white. So it was a lot of confusion, so the education was huge.
Yeah.
And so fast forwarding then to Empath, because I think this is really cool. You were on this education circuit. So is your heart to be an educator? Is that kind of where you're at?
If you were to draw like a Venn diagram of me, it would be the circle of an entrepreneur. I never knew that was my world until fairly recently with Perch. Another circle I think you draw of like a cybersecurity nerd, and then another circle you draw of an educator. Because I used to be a college professor. I taught at a university. And so, but Go Racers, by the way, we're in the World Series, which is bonkers.
What the heck?
I didn't even know Murray's never been good at baseball, ever, ever. And I'm at the sports bar last night, and Murray State's playing against Duke and beat them. I'm like, well, what does that mean? Like, and I look it up, and they're in the World Series anyway.
It's crazy.
Bonkersville. So I taught there, Go Racers. And so for me, Empath is this awesome bullseye in the middle of all three of those circles, which to me, I couldn't be happier. And
of course,
that was one of those things that, I stumbled into, not fully expecting that to happen. Yeah,
absolutely. So with that, right, one of the things I've noticed and I love about what your mission is, you often use the word upskilling. I know Alex Farling doesn't like that.
He hates the word.
Sorry, dude. You missed out.
He hates it because no one knows what it means.
Right. Well, I think it looks like either upskilling or upskilling, and either way you're killing it, right? So, but about that, right? So you're going from MSPs functioning as just like your standard IT person, which is what a lot of small businesses see them as, to upskilling them to something else. So what's your vision of what an MSP can be?
Yeah. So, well, and I'll even take that one step further. What an MSP has to be.
Okay.
Because today, an MSP is someone that says, oh, I can get your Microsoft licenses. Oh, I can install, configure, and maintain your firewall. Oh, I can bring an awesome security player to market. Okay, good. All of those things are true, no doubt. But that's becoming commodity.
Right.
That's becoming easier and easier and easier. Think about this. If you're an MSP listening to this today, you should think about this question. How easier is it to become an MSP today than it was 10 years ago? You know it's way
so
easier.
Easy. Yeah.
Because we've made it to where so much of the friction of being an MSP is being removed. That's a good thing for an MSP, but also is a threat if you're not careful. So where the future of an MSP is going is so much more than just selling licenses that I can buy from anywhere. It's coming into things like being a risk manager. It's coming into things like business transformation and automation. How can I help my clients do more with less? How can I help them revolutionize their processes, right? Things like really becoming someone that's more of a strategic advisor that's coming in and helping the business actually grow. Not just, oh, we've been a mom and pop business forever. And think about it, how many of them are, there's a legacy transfer of a 60, 70-year-old owner of the company now transferring the company down to their kids, and the kids want to take it in a new direction and revolutionize it, but they don't know how. Those are all things that an MSP is going to be busy with one day.
And once you have an oversaturated point of entry, like a very easy point of entry, you're going to have a bunch of people entering at that base level, and unless you distinguish yourself, right, and take on this higher level, and one of the things a lot of conversations I have, right, is it's like, MSPs, who are you selling to? And it's typically the biggest hurdle for them is the CFO for anything bigger than a really tiny business, right? So then how do I communicate things like cybersecurity to a CFO? And I guess when you think an MSP is ready, it's like they've worked hard, not ready, but they've been building up to be this risk advisor, this educator, this person who can convey and show value and really protect. How do they lead conversations in the boardroom?
Yeah, so it starts by listening more than speaking. It starts with truly grasping how their business operates. It starts with understanding the financial and economic requirements of how that business is working. If you want to talk to a CFO and a CEO, you better understand how the business operates, and you better understand things like what is the revenue, and you better understand how to look at a P&L and understand it. You better understand financial strategy and budgeting. You better be able to enter into a conversation with the client and help them insert IT and cyber into their budget. And I'm not saying that you have to become their certified financial planner, but I'm saying you got to learn how to speak the language. You got to know the lingo. One of the most valuable classes I took in my master's course in cyber was a finance class. And I never truly understood and grasped how important that was until so much later in life where I keep coming back to all those terms I've forgotten and having to relearn them once again. I don't want someone sitting at my board seat if they're not going to be able to talk at the top of the level of the organization and add value. If all you want to do is say, well, it looks like we need to get a whole bunch of new computers and that's going to be $200,000 and I didn't know it until last month and you better pay up, I don't want you at my board seat.
Yeah.
I don't want you there.
Yeah.
So add value to where I want you to come in and you can talk at the level we're talking about. And don't misinterpret that as that's hard. That's like 4 hours of like watching some YouTube videos on like basic finances, and you'll learn to speak the language, and then learn to be curious, inquisitive, ask questions, and off you go.
Yeah. So one last question. Let's say we get this right? Empath, wildly successful, and what you've done is you've created cyber advisors at scale, right? You've created the opportunity and the pathway, and you can scale people taking this maturity level to the next. How does this change the industry?
Yeah, so first of all, I guess I failed to even tell you or anyone else what empath even is.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So you're probably like, well,
let's define our terms.
What? Yeah, so my fault. So what empath really is, when you boil us down, think of us as a learning and accountability platform for MSPs to grow, right? Today, when an MSP hires, they don't hire from Microsoft or the NSA or Accenture. They hire from Best Buy, they hire from Starbucks, which is wonderful. You have unlimited talent input. You can hire people from anywhere. You're looking for great personality. We have no way to really bring them from zero to productive in an organized, time-locked process with accountability baked in. So think of us as a learning platform that does exactly that, that's open and modular. You can use courses we built, you can use vendor courses that come from other places, you can bring third-party content in, all that. So now to answer the question, I think what happens here is the requirements of the MSP are higher than ever before. And I'll take that even one step further to say, with what's happening with AI, with what's happening with automation, with what's happening with cyber, the requirements of your lowest tier people are now higher than ever before.
Wow.
The expectation has always been to do more with less, meaning that your younger folks are always going to have to be expected to do more.
Yeah.
Think about your tier ones today versus your tier ones 10 years ago. Use that example. Their required knowledge is so much deeper. They have to have basics in PowerShell. They have to understand some amount of like A+ and Net+ and how those things work.
Yeah.
They have to understand soft skills and how to handle complex issues. You probably want them to start learning AI and how to do some of those things. They have to know troubleshooting skills. They have to know how to use the RMM. On and on and on and on it goes, right? And so the challenge is actually and the opportunity in front of us is this. If we can get our younger folks, meaning our newer folks, to have the bar raised much higher in their skill set, then everything locks into place for us because we can do more with less, our margins increase, our efficiency goes up, and our scalability becomes infinite. So to me, and this is like maybe the biggest empath pitch I would give, is like, there's no way to do that with tools if you're not also investing in your people. And so people, and they're the most expensive line item on the P&L, right? By far, an order of magnitude more expensive than your tools. So the day has come, we've got to invest in our people or die. Because the industry is already getting so much more advanced than it's ever been before. We have to keep up. That's why the back of my shirt says, don't become irrelevant.
I love that. Also, total side note, my daughter, who's now 1, only knows how to make a couple of animal sounds, but she knows elephant. She kind of like, but every time I wear my empath gear, she points and makes that noise. And
nice.
It's so fun.
I have a gift for her in about 30 days.
Okay.
So something
beautiful.
coming her way.
So as we wrap up here, because I think this is fantastic, this is awesome. We're in total alignment here. And it sounds like you guys really know what you're talking about in building an empath. So where can people learn more? Yeah,
love just anytime you want to check out what we're all about, empathmsp.com, or check us out on LinkedIn. We do tons of stuff there as well.
Cool. Hey, thanks, Wes.
Will, appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, man.